in terms of the robots and looked at what they do now. So you will enter into a pack house and you see a human being with a bin full of product, 9, 10 kilos of grapes or vine tomatoes. You take it out, you check it, is it good for the customer? Yeah, you put it into another box and then you ship it home. We looked at that and decided that the robot needs to feel and vote, same like a human being. Just so you go in there, you take the human being out, or the human being doesn't turn up, and you place the robot in there. That's one of the things. So we make sure the system is going to be modular. Again, for a business like ours, nobody trusts you, nobody has that sort of relationship with you yet. So the first point our team talk about is what if it breaks down? Yeah, think about find a human being. You may not find a human being, but then you'll be able to take it out, non-destructive, the process will keep going on. You don't want to come in and then change the whole process. Something goes off, a line producing 20, 15,000 pallets of grapes a day goes down. You don't want to do that because then when you design, especially from an electronics, engineering, robotics, machine learning point of view, things will go wrong. There's no two ways about that. You need to just find a way to mitigate that until you understand some of those problems. So we made sure it was modular and then interchangeable. What we noticed was some of these people were not just doing one product. Most of those that we worked with would work in high season packing courgette, at the other end packing peppers. So you could not bring in a product. So when you have a human being, the easiest way is the human being can see what's going on and they will adapt. So today you're packing red grapes, tomorrow is black, following day is white, green, whatever special the human being will do it. But we have to make sure whatever system we design can mimic or at least go very close to what is happening today. So we make sure what we take with can also change with very little parts. In our case, 4 screws. You take those 4 screws out, the product will be doing a new SKU. So you don't need to do too much and you will make a change. Just like a human being, you have a 10-minute changeover and you have a new product. Easy to maintain. It's very crucial that systems don't go down longer than expected. If something breaks, can I maintain it very quickly? In our case, we make sure we can just pull it out if we cannot solve the problem on the spot, so we can deal with it, and that space can be utilized by another system, in this case, a human being. So we made sure there was that easy to maintain bit. And then it has to be durable. This system needs to be running for 5, 6 years. You don't want a system that comes in and then a year and a half is down. What we noticed was they were running conveyor systems for 10, 15, 20 years. So they're used to systems running for longer periods of time. And when you put a lot of capital into a product, you don't want it going down. So we have to put that as part of our thinking process. And then the first thing I mentioned is the space. We made sure we were using the same space all the time. And in the product that we designed, is using actually less space than they require now. And some of the people we're talking to are going to the point that they have this opportunity to now condense a lot of their business into smaller spaces rather than really, really large sort of business parks that they've been creating and sometimes is scalable, so to speak. One of the technologies we had in-house was something we call an electronic skin. One of the big problems is how does a robot do what a human being does? You see humanoids and all these other bits, but when it comes to point of contact, when you build something, the feedback that the robot needs isn't existing. This was something we had that nobody had. Absolutely no one had it. So what do? How can we make this product into something that people wanted? We knew there was a challenge that when it comes to point of contact, we knew there's a struggle in terms of packing food with mechanized systems. So we decided that this product, even though there are many, many applications that we feel we could have gone into, this was a big niche that we could use this product. In a human palm, there are about 58 odd mechanoreceptors. That's how we feel and interact with objects. On the fingertips, which is the most sensitive bit, is just over 240. But in our product, we have, in the same space as a human being, we have more than 7 billion. This was super, super sensitive that it could give the kind of feedback we want. So we decided to go into the sort of post-harvest agri-sector purely because of this product. Then there are other products. You can pick onions, you can pick potatoes. We felt where there was a lot of labor needed was in soft coding, vine tomatoes and grapes. You needed to feel them, you needed to handle them, you needed to know exactly what was happening when you picked it up, when you touched it, you needed that information almost instantaneously. So we decided to take this product, as we put there, it's fully compliant. It will flex, it will bend, it will fold, it will crumble, and nothing will happen to it. It will gain shape back. So when we're building this robotic system, we knew that these sensors, as we call them, electronic stain, can fit onto nearly any object that you would want. So a human being can just fit it around there on a robotic system. Anyhow you look at that end effector, you can just fit that product onto it. This was sort of our, if you want to call it, moment. To take this product and then go into this market. Then you think about, I can pay. What do I do with that? Machine learning. It's become a buzzword these days that everybody sort of using something like machine learning. But in our case, what we thought was, if you take out a human being, as I said, the products need to change very quickly. Audi may be wanting 2,000 planets of that, and the next moment they go like, people are eating that, they want that. Straight away, these houses need to change and go on to the next week. They don't have another space. That same line needs to be something else. So what we've done is we've gathered as much data as we can on, in our field purely at the moment is buying tomato rates. There are countless, if you want to call it, more than 109 species of buying tomatoes and over, I think, 280 of grapes. It's really big. So all we did was just take a step back and what can we use? What do we have around us? Machine learning. This machine comes out of the box and you already know so much. So if you buy the first one, by the time you get to the 100 one, the 100 one knows everything the first one knows, and they keep learning and training each other. This is what these products do. So we took something everybody does. Immediately we see a fruit, we take all the information we need and everything on the system, on the network, gets that same information. So I may see something in Spain, somebody in the US may not see that. Straight away, they all know the same thing. So our machines are sort of brought together in the cloud and they're helping each other get better. So if there's a variety somewhere in Chile that someone in Egypt does not know, this product finds it in Chile and tells the other guy. So if that product happens to end up there, I'll be able to do it. I don't need any new learning. I don't need to go back to base. That's sort of the idea, how we design this system. So I will have some images there in terms of how we do. We take almost every known parameter of the foods that appears in front of the product. So we use vision systems plus really sophisticated machine learning models that the team has developed to extract this data point and information and then refeed it back into our back end. So seasonality and variety, just so every season changes all around the world. So usually, for example, we don't grow any grapes for eating, what we call table grapes. They come from all around the world. So almost here in the UK, 12 months a year, you will always have grapes, but it's coming from different parts of the world. If it's coming from Peru, it would look and feel the same to you, maybe the same taste and everything, but to the person packing it, the person handling it, the differences in there, which our system learns and just adapts itself as we go ahead. Then there's the robotics bit. Apart from being modular, apart from having the skill to be able to grab, we need to be able to dynamically plan and pick and place these objects. And in our case, we have a proprietary product as well that we're able to cut, snip, to weight. So if you need to pack 200 grams, the system looks at the product, that's an estimation, and that's a cup that fits what the customer needs. The customer needs a very rare kind of berry, just tell us what the range is and the system. That's those kind of learning. So the product has been designed in a way that it's very sleek, it's compact, it fits. If that's a pick and place, we'll be able to do that. Not just these, we need to do it at speed. You're not going to bring a product that another person can do at the same speed. No one will listen to you even. You need to do this at pace. If a human being is packing up, let's say 20,000 a day, the robot needs to be doing similar or better. And we've made sure we benchmark that against what human beings did. And I can tell you from pilot testing in December, we've succeeded and passed those numbers. So these robots are not just a bug or a word. They actually run at pace and they are running better than what human beings in the kind of layout they have today are doing. So bringing all of these things together, we have what we call Avra. And it is the first post-harvest packing robot in the world. No one does this, no one has it, no one is even thinking of it. I think a lot of people are doing it now, but no one is even thinking about doing that. But we have this product that has brought a lot of these elements, understanding exactly what the customer is looking for. How do we fix those pain points of struggling to get people into sort of a pack house into a space where all they've known is how do we convey it from one point to the other, and then let's find a lot more people. Human labor has been cheap for a while, so it was sort of an addiction that it's easy. You bring anything in, nobody will listen, but now it's become a little bit more expensive. You can't find it, and even if you find it, you can't pay for it. So we thought probably this was our moment that people were going to adapt to, and luckily we have a lot of customers who are quite interested and engaging to the point that after testing and trial these things, are they quite happy with what they see. We don't only do vine tomatoes and grapes, we do actual tomatoes, and we're testing other single fruits as well. But again, you need to really understand from a design point what you're designing, who you're designing for, and how that solves the problem. If it doesn't, I think a lot of people would see it really nice, really cool, and take a picture with it, but I'm not gonna park my cash with it. But our product, we think, sort of solves a lot of problems for these guys. It's very modular. It's not a very restrictive product that is very dynamic, so to speak, changes itself based on which line you're looking for. And that has been part of the ethos. That's been part of how the team has sort of sat and understood customer pain points. How do we make money for ourselves? How do we make money for the customer? And how does that solve real problems in the real world? So with these labor challenges, we think a product like this sort of comes in and sort of saves people. You don't necessarily need a human being standing in a cold environment doing 12, 13, 15-hour shifts and being paid money they cannot probably pay their rent with. In these same businesses, there are other spaces where some of these semi-skilled and skilled people can be deployed very easily when you have a robot sort of taking those, if you want to call it, a repeated task. Because yes, you may find somebody to be able to stand in today, but then you train that person, and tomorrow that person finds something they're actually looking for because you didn't want to give them that. So we think by sort of bringing a product like this, we solve a lot of different problems: food security, wage, job satisfaction for people, and other things. Sometimes people look at robotics like this. We're not looking at it like that. And in fact, a lot of our design process, we don't leave the human element out. And the people that we're speaking to, we haven't even given a product where we take people out. We actually keep a lot of good people, if you want to call it, who enjoy the job on the line, as we call it, and then we bring the robot in to just increase that productivity rather than coming and say, get away, get away. It's a whole robot line at the moment. We don't want to do that because then there are these elements of human beings that's really good that we don't think robots and machine learning and everything is there yet to take that over. Even if there are other aspects that we need to repair and maintain them. The robot cannot maintain itself just yet. And probably the can will not do a good job. So there are other aspects of life that not necessarily mean just coming swooping with a robot because it designed a very good product, just take people out. There are these sort of little nuances that we think we are helping solve. We've done commercial testing, and in those testing, we reduced labor by up to 40%, whilst increasing the productivity of those same lines more than 1.5 times. We did a test for 5 weeks, no maintenance needed in that period of time. So we think Avarai, as we call it, is the next big thing in post-harvest. Thank you very much.
What do you think?
So the electronic skin, all this is just mind blowing. But have you got the IP on this?
So as part of the electronic skin has about 9 patents protected, and there's a lot of know-how as well. So that's fully protected in the UK, in the US, in Europe, in China, and the PCT.
But you could utilize that IP in other sectors as well.
Yes. There are other things, but as a small business, you want to spread yourself to things, but then you die before you can walk. You just have to pick what you want to achieve.
Yes, just interested in what the aim of the company is, how fast you can grow, whether you need a big company to come in with you and back you, or what the kind of business looks like looking forward.
I think I'm looking forward. Definitely, every business needs people to work with and grow. We're always going to look out for the people who we can work with as shareholders, investors, and many things like that. But at the moment, we think there are 2 things at play. We need customers who actually will take a punt. I said, when you're small and you don't have that trust, nobody wants to test you. So for the people that we tested with, sometimes we give the product out, they do anything they want with it within some limits, and they will be able to now shout for it. So in the next few weeks and months, you will hear other people talking about that, not us talking about us. So yes, I'm working with people like that to move their product forward.
If I can do a secondary.
Yeah.
I presume that, have you had in the UK farming innovation program type of funding?
Yes, so we had a project Spain, in 2018, we did a project called Overtop. So for single tomatoes, we were part of a project that the UK, sort of funded, up to 70% of our development processes. So yes, we've worked in Innovate on, at the moment, 2 projects, and we have a third one, coming online very soon. So we do partner with, Innovate,
That was actually how I was introduced to Jesse to Robert.
I think it was, yes, yes.
Because a lot,
Yeah.
well, he's from the UK, and there are
Yeah, I like them on one of the.
farming calls. I was hoping you could come and share some of that, but I will share that afterwards, just in terms of links and things. But so everyone is in the farming world and in terms of English, so you're looking to do that. Yes, please.
I'm sure I'm not stating the obvious, but going a step back in the supply chain from farmers or the growers' point of view, surely there's some sort of remake with will make it mobile to get on wheels and make harvest as well.
People are doing that. So that's why we chose to go this particular way. Because, for example, vine tomatoes in the UK, we only grow up to 20% here in this country. Everything else comes from somewhere else. So that product needs to be deployed somewhere else, not here. We're trying to work on a product that works here. And again, with machine learning, the more we learn, the easier it is to go into different places. And then again, you're so small, you don't have to spread yourself thin. Right here in the UK, there are 6 harvesting. About 6 businesses harvesting different kinds of products from about race, vine market. A lot of people are doing that. We join them, we want to crowd it. But the actual problem we see, especially from waste and getting people, is in the pack house. So people go into a black house every morning, 4 in the morning, and by 10 they're out. But then there's harvested. What do you do with that? At the moment, robots cannot do that just yet. So do you wait to catch up to that, or do you go into the pack house and solve the problem from there, release those people, and then deploy them elsewhere? That's the idea. So some people are actually solving the problem from the growing point and the harvesting point. We felt probably the best place for us to utilize what we have currently is in the pack house, which is the first harvest. That's why we did it this way.
Yeah, sorry, I missed the beginning of the presentation. But, have you tried this on anything else but food? I mean, other food types, things like perhaps fish or meat? On the 2 early days yet.
I can't disclose, but yes, fish, meat, and bacon and all these stuff like that. That's it.
Okay.
I guess you had corporate industries quite conservative. How will you find that in the marketplace?
I think it's a fair point, especially how I put it is people have told so many lies before us that it's so difficult to get through a lot of people because you come in and you say my product will give you 40% savings and only gives me half a percent of savings and I'm stuck with it for the next 5 years. Next time somebody comes, I'll report it. So that's what you probably need. It's difficult getting these conversations going, and we struggle in our own sort of journey to get to where we are. But in speaking to people, some of the things we have done is sometimes we take some of the risk away. So again, in some of the tests we've done, sometimes we just give the product to people and say, do what you want, these are the boundaries. We want to give you this, we want to give you that, do this in these parameters. And they will see that for themselves. And then, oh, okay, I can use it for a week, but can I use it for a year? Okay, then again, you come in and mitigate that risk a little bit, and so on and so forth. And we think with things like that, we're creating better partners, we're creating trust, and people will understand that. Again, if I come to you and say, this product is going to work for you for the next 10 years, and my data is only for 2 months, I'm not being very honest, isn't it? So those are the things, sort of, big sort of barrier entries that we've had. But we want to work on journeys with the people that we're working with. It's probably why we chose some of the very big ones in the UK. For grapes, I think they have about 60% of the whole market. For banking market, almost 48%. So they're really crazy big. But if you go to a smaller one, sometimes it's very difficult because I don't even have a percentage margin. And you were telling me I should pay you that margin, I make zero. And so there are those conversations, but we think when some of the big ones test it and they see it, and if that's what we say on the thing, the others will follow. So there are many different things that we're trying, but it's more of a journey. We don't just come in like you buy on my house and just go to bank walk away. It breaks down, you call somebody and tell them to go there next week. What do I do this week? You know, we don't do that. So for the people we're working with, we usually have people on the side where that we feel this pack houses in particular are sort of located in specific positions in the UK, in the ports and things like that. You have people that are deployable in an hour or two to get to, and a lot of our problems happen in the cloud, not on the actual product itself. So sometimes you just send an email, a text message, and somebody already solved the problem because the system tells us that a problem has happened before you will probably pick up the phone and say. So we've added a lot of different elements to solve some of these problems, but it's still very difficult because sometimes a lot of us will not help too. So people just have to call you. It's just how it is.
I must have been perspective. There's a difference of it. You've got several comments about doing stuff into your business. So presumably you'll do things like case study to show you the action.
So that's what I meant by in 2 months' time, you'll probably hear people shouting about that rather than us shouting. Because we've done a lot of things where, again, somebody sees this, they also get a different spark, and then you have a competitor that you don't have just because you're just starting to grow. So there are things that you don't want to release so easily. So these are the kind of things you can talk about to everybody. I don't know everyone here, but these are the kind of things we can talk about. The things that we can't, we hold it onto a point where the other party is happy because when they're completely hear that, they also come to us. So where's the margin for them? We're gonna sell everything. So it's just a jigsaw, it's a puzzle that we're trying to solve, but you can't solve it in isolation. Somebody helps you test your product, you need to give them an edge. That's how it is.
What came first? Did you develop the skin for its model, or did the model find the skin?
I'll say the tomato found the skin. So the first project that I just said over there that we're working on, we were not actually a robotic company. We were an electronics business. We wanted to give this to other people. What we saw for businesses that turn over hundreds, sometimes billions of pounds and only make thousands in profit, it's absolutely crucial that you don't bring a product that's costing you $500,000 plus. It will take them 10, 15 years to pay back. Why would you do that? So sort of, we pivoted that and said, have a product, we can give it to that guy or give it to that lady, but what happens? Nobody's gonna buy it, and this will not be shelved and put somewhere else. So we then molded ourselves as a robotic business, bringing all of these bits to people at a price point they can enjoy, with a payback of less than a year in some cases. So yes, the tomato farm is still.
Thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
I'll share just after have to pay or anything I speak to any specific questions. Now, apologies to those of you on Zoom. It's been 2 months since I've done this and I've completely forgotten how to make things work. So you didn't see the slide. So, but you will see the next lot of slides. So, should we now just take another short break while I kind of work out? Well, let's see how long I can.
Yeah.
And then when I read it, okay.
There's the clicker forward, right.
Yeah. Thanks.
Small container. Right. Going to bring up the army and then so, I'm now going to look at the input from this.
Silence is definitely going on. Somebody pressing this button, Paul is going to do something.
I'm just going to apologise to people on Zoom again. I thought I'd solved it. This time the slides on advance, but we will make the slides available to you. So listen to Ian, he's fascinating to there. And then if you want the full experience, then read the bits on YouTube with slides. So hopefully that will work for you. But Ian, with you.
There's a right hand.
It's right hand to go forward. There we go. Let us go forward.
So I brought my farmer's jacket, because I am an authentic farmer, so I'll put that down. I've used that prop. Ian Brown from Alnwick in Northumberland, third generation tenant farmer, so he gave up in 2012. My landlord was the Duke of Northumberland. I drew a graph of his wealth in the last 30 years in mine. I decided at that point to stop being a tenant farmer and then find something else to do. What I'm going to do is, got half an hour? Yeah, and I'll look you now, so we'll leave plenty of time for questions. I'll do a quarter of an hour on what I'm doing now, how I got out of farming and lived. But then I'll go back and talk about, it's great having Jesse's presentation and hearing about that. Because having been to the Oxford Farming Conference and the real Oxford Farming Conference in January, I want to give a big picture. Where's agriculture going? How does it fit in? Even if you're not involved with farming, there's an awful lot of, I think land use is going to change radically in Britain and across the world, really. So I think it's just interesting just to spend 5 minutes looking at that. So what is Chestnut Bio? And what on earth am I up to now? People haven't seen me for a little while. So what is it that we do? Basically, we came across a way of getting funding to reinvent something that exists. So from a design point of view, you might have seen tubes around trees, and there's not much really to design. It's kind of a tube. But you may or may not know, although it's in the plotline of the Archers this week, that there is such a thing. Thank heavens for that. You know you're on the right track when the Archers come with you. If you're in the farming world. So we have invented a tree tube that will last just as long as it needs to. So trees need protection for about 4 to 6 years, not much longer. So most of the material, there's been nearly 1 billion tree guards sold in the last 30 to 40 years. And how many of them have been recycled? Very, very few. How many are still out there? If not in their entirety, then in tiny little bits. So in terms of microplastic. So we were aware that other people were thinking a similar thing, but we came together with CPI, and basically this is how the kind of business will look going forward. So we're really a formulations company. It's not how I would have described myself a couple of years ago, but that's kind of where we ended up. Our tagline for the business, which I take some credit for, is made robustly, not to last. Those old enough to remember, might remember British Leyland cars and Italian sports cars. It didn't last very long, except for us as deliberate. So we're taking you can buy off the market biopolymers, but none of them will do what our biopolymer does, because we're adding to it to make sure that it lasts for just the right amount of time. With the TrueGuard, there's a number of things. So our products are made of sugar. So in fact, I should have said, if you wish to smell, how many people picked up a sugary smell? Thank you. That's right. Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't know whether it's a post-COVID thing, but some people are going, no, that's not it. No points up if you don't. There are a lot of people, when we've been having our material tested down at Teesside University, the first bit of feedback, and we had a batch that didn't work. So it wasn't perfect, but it certainly didn't work. And they were testing it, and the feedback was everybody in the laboratory said, what are you working with? That sounds absolutely lovely. But the whole point of the tree guard is to stop animals eating the tree, not by giving it something even tastier too. However, I think we worked out that most of the animals we're dealing with don't actually like to see sugary things, and that we're dealing with the way we're hardwired. So we're discovering that the thing that smells of sugar also tastes very bitter. So ironically enough, the bitter and just made from the sugar. So with a bit of luck, we've got 8,000 growth sites out in the countryside, so we will find out anytime soon. So that's kind of the team that we had to form, and I think one of the other really interesting things about where we've been is that I come with farming and forestry background, so I understand the end market, but I'm not a chemist. I can show you my school reports. I'm not a chemist, so I needed to get a really robust chemistry team together. We were very lucky to get Innovate UK funding. But we were able to work with CPI, Centre for Process Innovation, use their formulations teams, and literally I can see the factory from out the back here. IPAP are our manufacturing partner, as well as having two partners who are called in the trade offtake partners, so they're people we can actually sell the product to. What I passed around is a bowl jar, and the aim was to produce a 1.2 or even 1.8 metre tree guard to protect the trees from deer, and it obviously has to last about 5 or 6 years. But one of the things we've discovered kind of along the way is that there's loads of other stuff we can, we've got a patent on this, loads of other stuff that needs oil-based plastic kicked out the door, and something that if it gets into the environment. So if our material, for instance, falls in the sea, 6 months and it's gone. If it's a tree guard, we're adding things to it to take it to 6 years, and that will break down, producing CO2 and water and a mineral, possibly a bit of biomass. So absolutely not microplastics. The 3D printing filament, which we find really exciting on the grounds that Phyto is a hydroponics business which are based just across the water at Holt's Yard. So they can 3D print basically anything. We can filament of our material. Cable ties, such a simple thing. We're dealing with BMW. BMW, not for the cars, but for the supply chain, have said, their boss has said, no more oil-based plastics in BMW. And the staff are going, yeah, that's easy to say. He's the boss. So we're in talks with them. Bradford University have done some great work with us. Strimmer cord, not so different to 3D printed filament, but it has to be a lot harder. We've got a project to see if we can toughen up. As an environmentalist said to me the other day, well, what happens to the strimmer cord? I go, well, what do you think? Everything still exists, even when it's in a little bit. So it's in the bloody soil. You just put a whole load of small bits of plastic or nylon, it'll be there forever. I mean, the grass will turn into bloody astroturf if you keep on swimming. Plant pots, garden pegs, weed mats, it's virtually limitless. So our idea is to sheet extrude thermoform, which is what IPAP do, across the way. Tree guards in itself is a huge market. And we've just put in a lovely project for basically encapsulating all sorts of magic powders. So there is actually magic powder that will hold 30 times its own weight in water. So Glen Palace have had millions of trees this year, drought, 60% have died. The taxpayers' money pay for all those trees we plant with a plastic guard. 60% died, and the government's actually repaying to replant them. Our magic powder can be around the tree roots, hold any water that comes in place for the year, and then we'll put more of that powder in a little capsule, making the material we're passing around, which will then release itself after a year or two. You can time your capsule to dissolve and allow the powder to be available to the tree for the micronutrients or the microbes just at the right time. And we're using Farming Innovation Programme money to hopefully succeed with that. So that's the actual pellets. So for some people, so what I'm passing around is I don't know if anyone knows what it is. It's a catalogue of gardening naturally catalogue. So what I'm passing around is a clip for netting for fruit bushes, and they often get lost, fall off, drop in the soil. So if that happens, 2 years, maybe be gone. So I know there's a lot of detail on here. The slide's going to be passed around afterwards. So I won't dwell too much on kind of, lots of other people are doing this. This is a quick list of some of the other people who are doing it. And our argument is that we have, by a long way, the least toxic and the most compostable and the most biodegradable product. And now I guess it's a case of, moving on into what are the possibilities we have. I guess the other thing is we produce something that can replace all those plastic, but is reassuringly too expensive. So tomorrow we can get rid of all those plastic, have our magic material, but we're 4 times more expensive. And somebody was on about fish packets and vending machine. Yes, we could, but realistically, you're in the food business, as mentioned by Jesse. The costing, the profits are so wafer thin, which is good enough for our packaging basically. But it will end up there. And I think there's a number of reasons why I think there's going to be plenty of land for the bioeconomy, which I'll come back to in a minute. But the only way that we can become a huge company is to onshore some of this activity, to make those little pellets I'm passing around here in the UK, and then long term to produce a biorefinery here, to turn homegrown sugar or waste sugar into a plastic-like material. And the only problem with that is currently biorefineries are 70 million. We buy 2, I think we get this. So we are ready for financial risk, so we'll get there. But I think it's almost limitless. One of the things, and I've shown it to a few people, this is actually our material taken right the way down to below 100 micron. And even we've been really shocked. This is the tree garden material, but instead of being thermoformed, we just extruded it 400, 300, 200, and below 100. And it's just a remarkable material. If I can find that. I've written 100 on because I'm optimistic. And it kind of doesn't tell how we thought it might, so it's actually remarkably robust. And I think once you get something that you can 3D print, you can injection mold, you can thermoform, we're looking at blown moldings. It really is as big as your imagination in terms of where this could go. So although agriculture and forestry is kind of where we started, I talk about the farmer to farmer journey. It's funny that people talk about farmer, yes, and farmer to I talk about farmer, and of course most people think pharmaceuticals and all that, very different worlds. But what if a material like that could be both the barrier film, which is currently usually aluminium or metal, on a polypropylene encapsulation for the pills? What if our material could be both of those for the top and bottom, and then we'll have the problem with recycling. So we saw it with COVID, didn't we, that we had so many throwaway plastic elements. It was just crazy, but that's where we were. We weren't quite ready to save the world, but we will. So agricultural sourced, turn it into biopolymers. We then kind of process it, extrude it, and make products. Do we want to be in that whole chain? Probably not. I think we'll be a formulations. It's great dealing with some really big businesses. And we're also doing some really interesting R&D stuff on behalf of other people. So you imagine my little face lighting up when we got the email from Maldives and wondering if we had a marine confined cable tie. I immediately said, "Oh, come on, we'll have a..." There's no need. Okay. We'll do it by Zoom. So they're sponsored by Four Seasons, the hotel group, and they're restoring coral reefs. And you're thinking, how would you use cable ties? So apparently they seed metal bars. Metal bars have to be attached using cable ties, and then obviously the coral grows and happy days. They just need a cable tie that'll last 9 months. And sadly, they're using cable ties that will probably last 500, 1,000 years. So they're a bit embarrassed. So if we can take some money and get rid of their embarrassment, they're really happy. But also the Ghanaian Forestry Commission, mangrove restoration. Mangroves, they're not regrowing because it's becoming too brackish, too salty for the mangrove seeds to chip and to grow. So bizarrely, what they have to do is collect the seeds, take them to nursery and grow them in soil that's not so salty and get them away. They grow them in a plastic bag and they go, we'd really just love to take that plastic bag and, you know, put it in a hole and it will grow. But they can't because the plastic is obviously made from oil-based material. So if we can give them a very simple plastic bag, they can actually be planted out in our plastic bag. That's our team. There are people who are, look at that, PhD in biochemistry. Because that's not part of the business I can do. Finance, another area where I'm definitely going to need somebody else. And everybody needs somebody with a name like Alden Gummy-Face to handle it. Thank God you can find his name on LinkedIn, Ian Brown. Most of them are friends with him. So I think getting a good team has been really important, as well as, of course, putting with the really great guys at CPI. So 2.5 years in, we're kind of there. We've got prototypes, and as we finish our Innovate UK Smart grant, it's very much about, where do we go next from here, which is possibly another Innovate UK bid, but especially the farming innovation pathway. So I think I'll come and touch it back. So am I okay for 5 minutes? Big picture. Yeah. So I think big picture stuff, agriculture is one of those fascinating industries where you'd imagine, well, surely you can make money farming. Fast cherries to take off, in fact, these seeds, hundreds of more seeds, so easy. You look at agriculture UK, the profit that the whole industry makes is equal to the subsidy. So £3 billion comes in, that's being shifted from no strings attached, do some farming, get the money, to natural capital and social goods, public money for public goods, and that's fair enough. The bizarre thing is, if you take away a reasonable return on investment, land expensive, you divide the money that's left between the whole industry, basically the whole industry is on minimum wage. So a bit like not having enough money to live on, but your house keeps on doubling in value. The half of farmers in this area who own their farms, doing very nicely from a capital growth point of view. It's very difficult from a kind of, for the efforts you put in your annual income point of view. So, and that's bizarre. And if you're a tenant farmer, you're not even getting that upset. So, there's a lot of truth in the fact that you has got richer than maybe the last 30 years. The game is not over yet. Just saying. So competition, I'm doing competition with myself. When the Duke celebrated 700 years of being in business in the Alnwick area, we genuinely had a party to celebrate that. I did, I raised the glass, but not over yet. So farming is a really odd one. And also, if you look at farming accounts, and you look at people who might nod or otherwise, about 40% of farmers have a major diversification income stream. So it's not as if farmers are just farming, plus politics, plus weather, plus input costs. You've got a really unstable situation at the minute. I've been to both the Oxford Farming Conference and the real Oxford Farming Conference, once the hippies who love farming, once people wear suits and love farming. They both can meet in the same place, but in different places, and look at the world through different ends of the same telescope. We're in a really interesting situation because it is just tough to get the political foresight to give certainty about where we're going. But there's no doubt that AI and robots and how do we deal with not having enough people to pick produce here in the UK? Massive areas. I'm really glad we've heard from Jesse, about your business. There's a heap of other stuff about where we're going to be getting money from in the future with the whole net zero thing, because farmers are both a massive, if you are a farmer, it's a massive opportunity, but also a massive threat, that depends on the type of farming you're doing. I also think worry about farming that there is going to be the ability for hydroponics to produce most of the fruit and vegetables is very real. You know, you don't need soil, and there are some advantages in producing healthy fruit and veg in a factory setting with LED lighting and all of that. And also there is, I think, inevitably pressure against eating meat for a range of reasons, and the ability to have lab-grown meat or meat substitute. I think although if I was speaking to a farming audience and I dared to mention agroforestry or forestry or some of the areas that I've got expertise in, there would be a big kickback about taking over the war on, you know, we're only 60% self-sufficient on food in the UK. Should we really be giving up land to nature, however urgent it is? There's some fascinating dynamics going on, but I work part-time for the Forestry Commission, so trees, agroforestry, so mixing farming and forestry is very much something I'm a big believer in. I think there will be plenty of land because of the threats that I've talked about before. If I was a farming community, I'd be investing in that. To, you know, to have a competitor and you think they're going to win out in the long term, I would keep the battle, and I would buy a lot of shares in somebody else's name in the competition. I just go, that whatever way this turns out, we're going to win. But I think most farmers are going, no, we're going to carry on what we've always done. It will be fine. I'm not sure that it will be. So it will for some, and there'll be a third of the market, local provenance, and if people want to eat real meat, you know, come from real animals. Squirrel and deer, they eat chicken, so you can't do that. So yeah, so I think we're at a really interesting moment in terms of agriculture, horticulture, aquaculture, all those areas where people are beginning to be very interested. So I have a role as chairman of the City Farm, so across the river there, come see us, we don't charge you to get in or to get out. And you can see, you know, horticulture, farming, and we say it's a great place to grow in terms of the people and the produce. And I think that, so it's important. Agriculture has many, that will always exist, but I think it's going to change quicker than you know. And I think the private sector, by investing in carbon capture and in natural capital and nature-based solutions, are going to have a far bigger impact than even government. And we're doing an industry that always works driven by all government. So I think, like the materials that I make, I will, I've spoken robustly, and now I'll just.
We too quickly.
Fascinating. You've moved on a bit since we last met, but
Yes.
in a good way. Have you been able to come up with a transparent version of your work?
Very good.
You always ask two questions.
Yes, yeah. When I was in politics, I wasn't transparent either. We'd love to. Our polymers, you can't get, we're working really hard on it, because certainly for the medical world, there's loads of vials and lots of containers that they completely see through.
Food packaging,
So at the minute, we haven't cracked that one.
what about transmission?
Yeah, it's totally translucent, yeah. Certainly it's base material. The thin piece that I passed around, I was like, oh, God, it is. No, again, I have to watch them. You can't reverse it. It'd be a food stuff in itself.
Yeah.
We're not designing it as that. And I think
Yeah, but it isn't edible, even though it's bigger.
like they say about mushrooms, they're all edible, but some of them are poison.
I was thinking of survival foods.
Yeah. I don't know what the calorific is. I mean, it's obviously full of sugars, but the sugars are microbes that make the raw materials. So first answer, probably not. Second one, well, I'm sure.
But I remember a few years ago, the edible, you remember those, didn't last long, I suppose, people died of those edible cups.
Yeah,
You know, I used to put those like vapors, but they were like, their idea was to have, cups which were, so basically when they, instead of having, you can just basically eat the cup, you get to use it like vapors, so it doesn't feel.
well, that's a joke about the wheat bit, so you get more nutrition from the cardboard box and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I have this here, and I'm really, I love that, especially with the. It looks like it's in silicon sheet.
That's been injection molded that actually, it's, it's slightly out of the sync, but I cast it right now. So yeah, I mean, we can 3D print anything, and actually getting it as crisp as that with a 3D printer would be, I think, tricky.
Are the filaments initially available?
Yeah. So we're working with a lovely guy, Callum, at 3D printing tomorrow, and he was the one who took our material. It took a couple of goes, but the lovely thing is, you know, I mean, the whole world is used to oil-based polymers, so we put our material into big machines, as we did last week, to make Corex, so to make kind of corrugated material, and it just didn't work perfectly, but it's not going to. The whole world has been based on a higher melt on oil-based polypropylene or similar, so it's not really surprising.
So I was really interested by that product as well. In terms of its plastic properties, is it similar to something we use in a conventional, or so the number of times that you can flex it, for example, before it snaps?
It's pretty remarkable. I think we've been really pleased with just how similar. And for instance, the ability for it to be used, broken down to pieces, remolded, broken down to pieces and remolded. Each side of them at the second time. Which for anybody in that business is.
So when you reload it, do the properties change each time?
A little bit, but to get it to 7 times means not by a huge margin. So if you started with a really high quality, for instance, BMW and their cable car, I suspect their life is probably about 3 days from, you know, the parts arriving, snip. And we could take that back. And probably as a cable tie onwards for that purpose, we could probably do that 3 or 4 times around without it being able to toll it. So we just keep to a lower level of product. You know, tree bell hasn't got any tensile activity, you know, compared to cable.
When you talk about land usage with farming, and it's obviously like push towards the environmental aspect of it. So what's stopping us from using it? Why are we not seeing, you know, not just in power and what's the stopping point?
It's a good question. I think historically cost. I mean, I talked to somebody the other day and you get this, yeah, ICI did this for 30 years ago, nobody was interested. So it's like electric cars. We did that in 1908, but we didn't think, you know, oil was cheap. So there's a little bit of, in a world where oil is cheap and plentiful, nobody goes beyond that. There's a little bit of, you know, why bother looking for something that is better? And so we're forced, and even some really big companies. I mean, when we had the conversation, BMW was the CEO, head of finance, head of sustainability level, and they're kind of saying we'd love to do something, but a little bit of it is if we do it before our competitors, if we're the class disadvantage, and there's a little bit of we will run a sell to. There's only a few companies who are genuinely happy to be there with persons. You know, it's got to be the direction. And I think there's always a tipping point, and it does feel, it's the archers are talking about. It's going to be there.
Just to follow on that, we're talking about bio, is that a production problem in the UK, or do we just offshore source this all?
Yeah, I think certainly some of the places we're having to go to get our materials as well offshore. We would have some conundrum about whether it's better to pelletize offshore and manufacture widgets offshore and bring them here on a ship, and it might actually have a smaller carbon footprint. So I think it would be great if the land use frees up, which is my prediction. have at least one fire in Britain, you know, for use in a plant-based plastic replacement. The Teesside sitting there with plenty of land.
When the corn pot you saw,
Yeah.
Jude.
So I pitched this, but I promised to put it back.
It'll be gone before you know.
That's one of the grand rules. You did talk about injection molding. So, you have injection molding some so far, yes?
Those widgets,
So what's the melting in the rate?
I think we talked about 190, it's below oil road. Yeah.
So you could still use existing presses. There's nothing aggressive about the material. We would not change anything in the So, I'm from, an industrial design company, so being aware of what you could do is ideal. Probably a lot of people here. How do you get a hold of, the data sheet about the idea of the board?
People, the bright people in the government have said that they're the ones who wrote the data sheet. I dropped off a 5 kilo sample to a company called Colloids down south. Fantastic company. They're looking at sectors full of little coloured beads of every colour in the world. And they produce the plastic beads from Jacobs cracker pots. So that plastic pots, great for things like to use in a cracker. So yeah, so there are companies like that that are taking our products and go, oh wow, so we could have an injection mold that they could have the colour as long as it's non-toxic. It's criteria. And I think the aim, I think the way, and I said this probably never arrogant, but confidently the last time, that the chestnut logo, I'd love to be the powerful icon in the future. Because like the Pentium chips, I think that, you know, our riches will come from other people designing products with our lovely material in them. And we would hope that we'd have the little chestnut on there just to give people reassurance that the source material is, you know, is from nature, it's kind of nature-based solution.
If you share to the village, you can recommend to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some stuff you get into NDA territory, but yeah.
So, you got the first hour of us.
I can understand totally the microplastic diffusion in the environment. But is the carbon footprint of the product lower than plastic or higher?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's got to be lower, just because of the sheer scale. But we know there will be companies who won't touch us till we've that whole.
No, it's just using the agricultural land for a non-food purpose, like a fire hazard. I was just wondering how the map.
Yeah, I mean,
it's loads of
yeah. I think we certainly have to be careful about how we change land use, and the whole bioeconomy is not going to happen overnight. Scotland's done some really interesting stats about using 10% of their whole arable acreage for poverty sugar beet to have a bioeconomy in Scotland. They're way ahead of England in terms of having crunched all of it.
Is it a power hungry process to develop it, make it? Is it a power hungry process?
No, it's basically microbes, it's just so, and because the melt temperatures are lower, if you look at the processing, it's less energy. So I spoke to a company the other day that make Corex, their electric bill's gone up from 300 grand to $1 million. Their source material, which is oil-based, their plastics doubled in price. They're selling into the building industry, so you can imagine their accounts at the minute. Their lecky bill's gone up 3 times, and their input costs have gone up double, and plus, and they're probably not getting any more for their products from the building trade than they were. So, you know, in a way, rather than there being 1 or 2 little reasons to shift, we're now into territory, some quite big reasons to come across to our way. But it will not happen overnight. We're looking at the very top of the pyramid, there's a premium product, and we'll have to bang. Oh, gee.
I just wanted to go over the time and you kind of said you can program it almost to break it down at a chosen time. So you were in the like early stages of making it rather than something that could be activated
Yeah.
So having when the consumer finished using the product, they go back and done and do something to activate that breakdown.
Yeah, no, it's in the formulation, so we would ask, so like the drought powder is a good example. We try and take city farming into precision forestry. It's never been enough money to actually bother too much about every tree surviving. So we would encourage forestry to become literally look at the site, look at the soil, and make some decisions. And some of our capsules we would build to last longer than others, and that can be the thickness of the material, inevitably, or just by adding more of something. So really our expertise, and I think where our money will come from over the years, is simply talking to people about what they need the material to do. And whether it's one where we make it and it comes back and back and back around, or whether it's literally one use that disappears into the environment. So those little gold guards, one company alone sells 4.2 million of these in Scotland every year. They get hidden at the bottom of the tree. You wouldn't see them unless you poke around at the bottom of the tree. Guess how many are collected back in? Like 15%. I'm probably exaggerating. Things like that should not be made from oil-based plastic. And given it's government grant aided, the government should not be paid for that. That's where we start and then move towards the rest.
Yeah, does the time change depending on if it's like in the soil or water or air or? sun
Yeah.
or whatever?
So the marine one's really interesting. We want a cable tie over the last 9 months. The submarine testing now the last 6 months. Yeah, going on for the sea steps. So lovely thing. We work with impact laboratories. In fact, I think recycling part of the Wall's End, but their main laboratory is up in Livingston. They have an accelerated weathering machine. So as my bookkeeper said, she said, so that's a dishwasher. I'm like, well, it's a sophisticated dishwasher with a light bulb. That's ultraviolet. It's every 1,000 hours of the year. Obviously, it's also anyone in automotive or aeronautical will know parts have to be tested so that you work out when they fail. Every 1,000 hours of the year, so we've been able to test and look at an electron microscope and see how our material degrades. So yeah, because we've done composting, so we've had our material in the soil, monitored how it breaks down, and we've had it in a dishwasher with an ultraviolet light, showing how it would react and speed it up well.
Oh, one more. So we discussed it earlier. I'm in life science, so something that we one of our projects that we and the challenge is to make this lots of plastic that we generated from that. And the challenge was to find recyclable, but it's difficult because we have very specific needs in terms of the thickness. This is a question which is probably a little bit simple, but does it follow that the stronger you need the material to be, the thicker it has to be, and therefore the longer it will take to get done?
Not always, because the widget I'm passing around doesn't have some elements that the thin film does. So we're getting strength in several ways. So there's a bit of a matrix. There's different ways for us to get strength and different ways for us to get longevity.
Okay, so it doesn't follow that will take twice as long as something that's half as thin.
It will if it's the same material.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it will be. But it works in tree guards, what we discovered is every 1,000 hours, every year, in fair time, we would look at them and obviously we wanted something that would last. So the first 3 years were hurrah, it's lasted really well. By year 5, we're going, how is it going? But there was stuff happening within the material that we weren't seeing visually. In fact, it was working absolutely perfect, but there was no amount of not going to show that until a moment of time.
Yes.
And then how it breaks down can be really important.
Okay, that's what I mean.
No, yeah, it's an internal as much as an external.
Well, this is the last one.
It's just, you don't plan on this.
Yeah,
How long to last?
25 years when, yeah, 25 years.
Did you ever consider the WB40?
Which is,
Which is when you people know what the recipe is.
Oh.
So in the park. So we do all regional developments. Why don't you do both of them?
Yes, yes. Well, yeah, it's an interesting fact. It's early, yeah.
What do you really going on?
I think because we're science led, yeah, I think we consider it having a sort of pattern, but we've been really lucky to be made something like 27 patents of innovation. I think we've had 18 passed straight away. I think I don't know, I did the other night. Yeah, which is lucky because you imagine something like this isn't, you know, that actually other people would. You know, there's a couple of Chinese patents that on first glance mention some of the things that we mentioned, but when we looked at it, sort of it was simple. It wasn't very relevant. But no, I think we'd rather just nail down the patent, make as many claims and, you know, stake up the patent.
That way your investors, if you've got, they want the IP protected on it. You're almost, you don't have to do it, you know, to.
Yeah, because we are at that point, since the Dragon's point, I know, did you get that valuation from the conversation?
Well, thanks, I think it's probably this one person do a pretty relevant thing. It's completely back 30 years ago, I was working at ITI, and they were trying to develop it. But I think the heart was it, because they were also developing huge volumes of oil-based plastic.
Yeah.
I know we wanted to do that.
No.
And as with Jesse, I'll share his contact details afterwards. Yes, don't try and sneak out with any of you. So thanks for that again, and Jesse, thank you also. We've now got a couple of people who just want to say a little few words about themselves, who they are, and why they're here. So there's no particular order. With Richard, you can. Do you want to come to the front or just want to see where you are? Fine. Yeah.
I'm Richard Talbot Jones, and Managing Director of Talbot Jones Limited, Chartered Insurance Brokers. We specialise in work with charities and technology companies, but we also own another broker, the March Insurance Services, which specialises in agricultural and rural economy risks. So I thought to myself, I saw this pop up and I thought, well, I do technology companies, and so why don't I come along and see what it's all about. So thank you for breakdown. Economy, and it's good to know I've been listening to the archers on purpose. Because I should really brush up on my farming knowledge. I'm glad that wasn't that. Yeah, basically we insurance brokers and risk management.
I'm David Taylor, I own a video and basically what we do is produce videos to enhance communication. My background is in education, years. I was looking at presentations to get spoken technique. Obviously, video is a very powerful way for living. You know, the case studies and how government works. I think the team of trust in terms of, you know, that kind of thing. So really the way it works with discussing this, what we do, because without taking how the videos are actually video that's in the find out precisely what the outcomes do, what is want to say to those consequences of the video, who the audience are. So we define it very carefully, we come out, we actually discuss a question to ask, a particular personality, and then we produce a video. So we actually it's a very powerful way to use it. Now people are looking around lots of websites and delegates. Some people are using it quite to an extent. Some people are using the Torah and basically that has this opportunity because while it's text, you know, quite important, it's also quite dry. Some people around here are doing quite complex services, complex products. Maybe they demonstrate that by showing what they're doing. Explain the outcomes of using that service. I think that's very powerful. So it's just got it clients to work with. So we haven't got a video on the website and we can see you are. That's it. Thanks a lot. Paul.
Simon kind of mentioned on here, Simon spoke to book. You mentioned something about it in 2 minutes, and then he didn't mention it at all yesterday, so slightly taken about. I've been involved in R&D for a long time. Moved here from Manchester 2 years ago. Got introduced to Simon. He's without doubt the most knowledgeable guy I've ever met. One of the key guys I know that if the rest of you ask a question, he'll be straight on it. Most R&D companies that I've ever worked with in the past or know about, if we get questions from the revenue, it's going for the hills. We don't want to know that's the quality that we've got. There's a lot of rule changes coming soon. So if there's anybody in the room that's ever thought about an R&D claim or is considering it, you need to ask them because the rules are changing.
And even if you don't think you're doing R&D, Simon, I'm sure it's very good. So actually, that thing you're doing, that is technically R&D, and you've got a agreement for it. So if you're not sure about it, then Simon.
And I can just verify that we've done our own thing through yourself, and yes, we've got it.
I know they would have the man himself, which
This is a claim on that advertising.
sorry?
Claim on that advertising.
And that would be.
Oh, thank you very much, Ian and Jesse. I'm a pharmacist consultant at Jason Gray, we're a property estate and land business across the north. I think one of the things we're seeing, and I sort of specialise in machinery costing and structures for farmers. Machinery cost a lot of money. If they can target their costings around machinery, they can save a lot of money. We're seeing a lot of rise in technology and advances. Probably started in the horticultural business, very quickly moved into dairy and arable, and moved even faster into beef and sheep, especially around the data collection point of view. Data is huge. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. It's obvious. Discussion. What we're seeing is savings, hugely saving. Ian said reduction in DPS. Potentially 60% of farmers are non-profitable without the basic payment support from the government. With reduction in that, can we make savings through the use of technology, through productivity, saving in labour, human error, direct performance? It is there. So I think what we are doing as a company is we go out on farm, we're doing farm business reviews, and we're actually looking funding through government, through the reduction of DPS, through the Future Farm Resilience Fund, which is a pot of money available to all farmers to review their businesses, understand their way through this transition period of losing DPS, and we as farm consultants are able to provide that free funding across the north of England to access the finances of the business and move the business forward through this transition period. So I think technology is going to have a big part to play, whether that's through increased productivity, as Jeffrey put it out, whether that's through labour saving. Labour is a big issue in agriculture. The shortage of labour is almost crippling agriculture at times. So no, if we can replace that with technology, the advantage of the community, we can hopefully take part in that through people, through life.
Absolutely. So, any good questions? Absolutely. Just until I share it, I'm also going to, I hope you don't mind, I'm also going to mention Paul, who is a product development expert, particularly on the manufacturing side, and he's got a bit of time free for anyone who wants someone to help, need some help with doing, get things moving and get things out there. I'll chat with Paul. And also, sorry, Alison, but Alison is a designer extraordinaire, particularly in terms of getting designs out there where they belong, rather than just on paper. And Alison is also has a bit of time available. So if you're looking for a brilliant designer, but not someone who just draws nice things, it has to be really good talent. I'm just going to mention, right, so that's what I said at the beginning, that's what we're all about. And because of that, so hopefully, some of that stuff is becoming a bit more real. I've learned that. Hopefully we'll learn something. So my role within Design at North is to kind of make things happen, grow the network. There's hundreds of companies and people out there who are the network, it's not me. But my job really is to support the network and help it grow and flourish. So it's about encouraging collaboration with things like this. But there are lots of ways that we try to do that. Because that's when we really do things happen. You can do some amazing things on your own, but when you connect with someone else, who does something you possibly didn't understand, then, that's when amazing things happen. It's about giving assistance as well, so if you want to help somebody, please do ask them. Not that I can always help, but I can often find someone who can help. And maybe also find some money as well, so please do ask them if you need some help with. It's about sharing knowledge to things like this. If you've got some expertise, some knowledge you want to share, then you talk to me and help get that out there. And it's about raising the profile of design, importance of design, helping you raise your profile and find out how to which we all know the whole world needs to know. One of the ways to do that is to design events, so it's second Friday of every month. So that's where you've been for the last couple of hours. Next month, we're looking at design for all, which is kind of how do you make sure you design things that aren't just suitable for mid-range right now, and they're suitable for everyone and all of their diversities of all types. So we've got some brilliant speakers lined up, including some you might know Andy Hatton from Big Mill Bakery. He's based just over near biscuit factory, just on the Hilly Bikers. He's going to be providing the stoppies for the baby sandwiches next month, so that is really good. Then in April, we're going to be doing something around data and what data is, but more important, how designing new things, using it. I mean, you don't use all, but you have to have a chat about that. So, but with all of these, if it's something you have some expertise in, and you think you'd like to share something, then please do. And then in May, we're looking at the importance of designing regeneration, which I thought of on Wednesday when I was talking to somebody from Kojima, who are they're a Japanese, but they have a big UK project, and they get involved in a lot of regeneration projects, like the old General Hospital site on Westgate Road. But they're also involved in, do you know about the Italian Studios project in Sunderland? So there's this massive covered shipyard, basically, which is probably the biggest in the world. They were trying for a long time to keep the bones of shipyard, but now switched direction very dramatically. They're trying to turn it into a film studio because it's full of water, or you can make it full of water, and it would be the biggest in the world. So they're kind of one of the partners in that. I was getting some inside information. So apparently, they're trying to get the big studios interested, so they're bringing them all across the Amazon and Netflix. James Cameron is going to be and also they reckon apparently the Mission Impossible 9 is a bit of a spoiler. It's going to be set on a submarine. So Tom Cruise might be so she's going to talk about that and some other things as well. But as I say, if you've got something you'd like to share on those, any of those, then let me know. You can kind of get a spot. All of this is on the website. So if you haven't been before, so there's all of the up there should be this event. So that's where you register, and then all of these are the ones that we've done in the last few years that have been live streamed, and they're all recorded. So if you weren't able to get there, then have a look at those and you want to do so. I do edit out me, so it is just the speaker. You would have to listen to my local one. But yeah, that's all on the website as well as other things, because I know that more for all. So a few people before. A word from our sponsors. So Supply Chain Northeast is one of the programs that is run by RTC Hawk, which is the company that does all this stuff. They do a lot of work around, as the name suggests, supply chain, helping you with your supply chain, but also getting you with big supply chains. So I had an event on Wednesday with Lockheed Martin, who we're hoping are going to build something over there. And so they've been helping them to find all of the different bits in the supply chain that they need. And they do similar things with other big projects of that size. So then we're getting put into what they're doing. They're only around till June, or rather the projects in the last 2 weeks. We also have a bit of money as well for capital projects. We can buy some kits to do something amazing. Which I'll share with you about in an email on Monday. And then also in the UK, the EDGE program, I'm one of the so-called innovation specialists on that. And that through that you can get one-on-one support to your business and do some new things. We've also tackled various funding pots to do with IP, to do with accessing the catapult network and other things as well. So if that might be of interest, I'll chat with you afterwards or connect with me afterwards and talk you through that. So just a couple of things that are coming up. So the EIPC are holding a day for startups next in 2 weeks' time, week and a half time, over at the City Library. I mean, you can read that because that's all I'm doing. But if you are at that stage or you know someone who is, I might be worth getting on to. I think it's 2 sessions. Anyway, go to the website. You'll do a much better job of listening to me. And Chris, so you know Chris Whitman from Global Teacher. He first did a 2-minute pitch about 5 years ago, and he said, "You know, I've got this vision to create this." Because as it says there, 50% of schools have no internet, and something like a ridiculous number of the world's population are illiterate because they're not got access to education, essentially. So what he's created is this solar-powered projector that will turn anything into a classroom or a lecture theatre. It's also connected. You can stick a memory card at the back, which can be full of learning resources, basically. So you can be in the most remote place and have a classroom. So he's making them. They're 3D printed, which is nuts, but they're brilliant. In Sunderland, and he started a crowdfunding campaign. And the way it works is that we've set up our own version within the broader site, and we'd love to get some of those things shipped out to wherever. So who's chipping? It'd be great to get some design level remote projectors out there, educating kids who've never seen stuff like this before. It's on 0 because I only turned it on yesterday. Hopefully, along with as the bacon sandwiches number has gone up, hopefully that number will have a similar trajectory. So I'll send more information on that. But it's an amazing thing. We've had a lot of support from different people in the network, which has been fabulous. But now he's at the stage of just losing money. Well, not just, but that's the big thing. So, you know, it'd be great to see as many of those as possible being shipped out to Arthur and creative. So that was my picture as well. And then just another thing that so we know we held a conference over about 5 years in the Thames. We have some amazing speakers from some fabulous businesses. They're all online, kind of a mini TED almost. So you just go on there, you sign up like an all event, you need a password, and you can watch people like Marek Whiteman from Aston Martin and what's it called? Not in who's somebody does anyway, who's now with Logitech, winning every award he won for design. So yeah, have a look at that. Well, that's what I'll be doing on Sunday. Anyone else want to see Bob White at the stage? Are you going to wear the earplugs? I don't usually wear earplugs, but I think I might this time.
I've got some like musician earplug things that quite good. So you can still hear the music without. And also the speaker as well, so that people don't.
Oh, really?
Do some foreign things like that.
So yeah, I might, don't bring me on the list of women who I'm just super people. So hope you enjoyed it. It's great to see you. It's nice to see you all. You might need to know what to do, really. There's still team coffee outside, so please don't feel need to use sit down as well as you want. Catch up with people like that before. And then hope to see you in March if that go. Thank you.
And sorry if you want to, I'm all the technical issues there, and Tony might call, we'll do that next time.